Can the folks on the line hear me? Can I get a mic check?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
You okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to get started. If you have not had a chance to get food, please do and get settled in. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 11:35. Welcome to the Modesto Chamber of Commerce Government Relations Council, or GRC, meeting for the month of August. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our lunch sponsor, who also happens to be our guest speaker today, Dan with the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission. We appreciate the sandwiches from Panera very much. Very generous of you. Let's move into introductions. We'll start in the room and go clockwise. So to my left, my name is Michael Gaffney. I chair the GRC, and I am the immediate past chairman of the board.
I'm Stephen Shaw. I'm the administrative assistant for the Modesto Chamber of Commerce.
Christy Boyette, Zacharias, current chair of the chamber board.
Dana Ferrer, regulatory analyst for Modesto Irrigation District.
John Beckman, Building Industry Association.
Bob Phelan, representative for Council Thomas Menlo. Stephen Paul, Central Valley Division and Regional Public Affairs Manager for the Utah News and board member. Kristan Santos, Street representative for Thomas Menlo.
Justin Marcus, representing Assembly District 22.
And Levitt with San Joaquin Gates Rail Service, and also representing the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority.
David Boulder with Senator Leon Bravo Bill's office, and I have our district attorney Yolanda Butcher with us as well.
Neolani. Say a little bit slower. Sorry. Neolani. Neolani. Farrow, Public Relations and Communications Director for Stanford.
Diana Ruiz Del Rey, City of Modesto Public Relations.
Excellent, and we'll move to the folks on the line, starting with, how about, oh, he just moved, Councilmember Alvarez.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Councilmember Eric Alvarez, City of Modesto, representing District 2, which is the west side, south side, downtown, and airport neighborhood. But that's not to say that we don't represent the entire city of Modesto. So thank you for hosting this, Mike. Happy to be here this morning.
Thank you, Eric. Sarah?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Orgel, and I'm the division manager for the Modesto Stockton area for NorCal NECA.
Thank you, Sarah. Yamilet?
Hi, my name is Yamilet Valladolid, and I'm the Director of Government and Community Affairs for Golden Valley Health Centers.
Thank you, Yami. Renee?
Good morning, Renee Gutierrez. I represent the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority and the Rail Commission with Dan Lovett, and I'm a regional community outreach coordinator.
Nice to see you, Renee. Trevin?
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Trevin Barber, the Economic Development Manager for the City of Modesto.
Welcome. We'd love to see you here. Short walk.
You caught me in transit, so I'm just closing on a house, and I'll make it there as soon as I can.
Right on. Congratulations on that. Todd? Mr. Aronson?
I think
You may have stepped away.
there was a chat.
Oh,
earlier.
is there a chat? Is he unable to come off mute? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna spot, yeah, just audio only. So welcome, Todd. Appreciate you joining us. I think that covers everybody joining us virtually. Supervisor?
Guido Chiesa, here to support Dan, work with Dan and Renee.
Right on. Nice to see you. Okay, we will move into the consent agenda. If somebody has had a chance to review the GRC minutes from last month and would like to make a motion. Dana, thank you. Second, anyone?
Second.
Thank you, Peggy. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Appreciate it. Anyone opposed? Highly unlikely. Motion carries unanimously. I appreciate that. Any updates from the city of Modesto? maybe
Eric.
council member. if you-
I don't have any updates. I did, I'll just give the brief synopsis of where I've been this past week. I had a chance to discuss some issues facing substandard housing with Supervisor Graywall earlier in this week. I also discussed some crime issues with El Concilio CEO Jose Rodriguez, and some representatives from the Stanislaus County DA's office. And I also met with the mayor yesterday, Mayor Zwollen. We had an event in the park at the Maddox Youth Center. We discussed housing and all the housing projects that we have underway. We touched a little bit about economic development. And at this point, if you have seen on the west side, the housing construction that's been going up on Vine Street, that's the transitional housing for seniors and veterans. Those are cottages that are they're already a quarter way into construction. So we're hoping to get that completed and finalized here soon. Unless my colleagues have any other updates, that's all I have for now. Trevin, feel free. And I think there's somebody else in the room there representing the city of Modesto as well.
We just adding to that, we have a Southwest Modesto meeting coming up in the next, we don't have an exact date, but I know it's coming in late September, early October. And then we have general plan updates that we'll be pushing out as well to the community in October. So when I have those dates, I'll share them with you guys.
General plan, I think, just housing element.
No, it's gonna be the land use.
Okay, excellent. We'd love to know about the general plan update, obviously, since we are big supporters of
Okay.
that.
That's your question?
Yep.
How did the parking meetings go?
They were well attended. I think it's back now for review. We will probably be back out in the community for additional feedback in the next maybe 60 days or so. They're very well attended.
Excellent. Any questions for the city of Modesto? Stanislaus County update?
The biggest thing that I wanted to highlight today is that our Stanislaus County Agricultural Commissioner's Office is hosting a pesticide tank back disposal event from October 11th to 13th. Growers have to pre-register, but we have up to $100,000 in funding to hold this event, and it will be at no cost to the farmers and growers. It is a first come first serve and registration is required. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and we're almost already completely booked. So if you know anybody.
Any questions for the county? We'll move into Assemblyman Juan Alaniza's office.
Yeah, Justin from Assemblymember Juan Alaniza's office. So many of you might know already, we have done some of that from our summer recess. We did our first after recess as of today, and for the most part, we're seeing really positive things going forth on our end with the legislature. A number of our bills have been placed on the suspense file this week in the House Appropriations Committee, which effectively means that there is some sort of fiscal impact by placing these bills into law. So it's up to the Appropriations Committee to determine the amount of cost those bills would place onto the state and determine whether or not it's a feasible solution. So the bills that they have already were already passed through the Appropriations Committee once on the Assembly side, but now on the Senate side. And we're really hopeful that we can get a number of those bills passed out of there. One of them being, Assembly Bill 243, which is addresses children victims of abduction and kidnapping, giving them confidentiality. And the other being priority registration for first responders at all public colleges in the city of California. So those are the ones that we've seen placed on suspense file this week. I think we talked about before the break. We got our first bill signed by the governor a few weeks back, Assembly Bill 1467, relating to AEDs and use of them by contracting organizations with school districts. You guys know the story of the young girl named Nevaeh. She tragically lost her life in Waterford a couple years back, and then had an AED been available to the staff and herself. It's very plausible to say that she could have kept her life that day. So making it a life-saving tool like an AED accessible to more individuals like her. We're hoping that we see more lives saved in youth sports and other types of activities. That's really it for me. There's another bill going on that we have, Assembly Bill 1078, that is actually specifically focusing Stanislaus County and the fairgrounds. Actually, it allows the fairgrounds to be a horse betting facility. So it's a really cool one. Yeah, and Sonia called me about that one today. It's not very contentious. Yeah, it is a 2-year bill, but that's one that we have been getting some calls about because it's very locally driven, and we hope to see it the fruition next year.
Any questions for Justin? Appreciate that. Senator Maria Alvarado Gill's office.
Morning, everyone. So the Senate is also back in session this week. 3 of our active bills that I will mention, SB 470. That bill will provide drought relief to communities and wildfire risk zones through grants through the Department of Water Resources. That bill passed on July 11th out of the Assembly Water, Parks and Wildlife Committee, 14-0. It is moving to the Assembly floor for a vote. SB 589, this bill establishes a fund that will provide emergency disaster relief to children in foster care. Also passed unanimously out of the Assembly Human Services Committee on July 11th, also in Assembly Appropriations. And then SB 780, which deals with commercial feed additives or drugs approved by the US FDA that is intended for livestock. The bill basically put under the oversight of the California Department of Food and Agriculture as the primary state regulatory agency. That bill received unanimous support and passed out of the Assembly Ag Committee and is currently in the Appropriations Committee.
Any questions for Jacob? Jacob, yeah? Yeah. Any questions for Jacob? Congressman Tom McClintock's office, Bob?
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Gillen, Tom McClintock. I asked them if they have any issue they want me to discuss. They sent me 7 pages. I'm not going to discuss 7 pages. Just to let you know. Congressman is back in the district for the month of August. This last week, they had a Western Caucus meeting in Yosemite, 31 congressional offices represented. They had field hearings on basically it was HR. I get it here. HR 188, Food Enforcement Management Act. Congressman John Duarte and Tom McClintock seem to be mirroring each other on a lot of the issues as far as kind of force management. Don Pedro, and I'm sure that we'll hear a little bit about that. They know the issues are out there, and they are the 2 hardest working congressmen I've seen. I mean, I see the congressman's schedule, and I'm a little bit older than him. I could not do his traveling and his driving time to represent the constituents. He also loves doing teletown halls. He's been on C-SPAN. I see him all over. I see him more than I see my wife. He's involved in budget negotiations. The one little paragraph I did get from Washington, which I will read, it says, expected legislation September and October. It says, as of right now, the leadership is still saying they expect us to try and pass some of the funding bills. The first bill will be the agricultural appropriations bill. I also expect us to vote on the legislative branch appropriations bill in September that is slightly less controversial and needed to pay salaries. If there is not an appropriations deal, then we will be voting on a short-term continuing resolutions. That continuing resolution would need to pass the House and Senate before the end of September, or the government will shut down. We've never heard that before. We have not seen any of the terms of this as of yet. McCarthy wants a continuing resolution till mid-January, and Schumer wants one until mid-December. So we are expecting to vote on the Farm Bill in mid to late October. And again, the Prudent Forest Management Act, HR 188 is added to the Farm Bill. And the one thing with the HR 188, Congressman always says, there's only 2 ways to get timber out of the forest. Excess timber comes out of the forest in only 2 ways. It's either carried out or it's burned out. And so it's an essential issue that we get involved in. Like I said, just thank you for your time and for not reading the 7 pages for you.
Any questions for Bob? If any of you missed the congressman's presentation here last month, you can go back on the recording on our website. Nice visit. Congressman John Duarte's office.
Francis Spear representing Congressman John Duarte's office. You're also on August recess, but the congressman's still working hard at it. Also attending the Western Caucus and Natural Resources Committee field hearing and field tour in Yosemite National Park to discuss perhaps taking a more active role in forest management, thinning fuels, fuel breaks. He also brought up the fact that, sequoias, we lost quite a number of them in the complex fires, P&P complex fires the past couple of years. I think there's 5 to 10% of all giant sequoias. So if we really want to preserve the environments and the incredible forests we have in the Sierras, perhaps we will be more active in the role, and we really are aligned with Congressman Plumtock on those forest management strategies as well. We also had the pleasure of joining Congressman Plumtock for a tour of Don Pedro with representatives from MID and TID. We got to specifically see a lot of the debris that was washed into the reservoir from the recent severe storms we had this winter, and discussing funding opportunities to address that issue as well. We also, before our recess, we're really proud to sign on to the Rural Hospital Technical Assistance Program Act. That would codify and make permanent an existing USDA program specifically aimed at helping the financial health and management strategies and integrating more access to funding opportunities for rural hospitals and health clinics. Now, the definition of rural in that regard, the USDA bill is 50,000 people, and we've also been in discussions with some folks down in Merced County, and Supervisor McDaniel and Supervisor Carrozzo, on some of the discussions they've had, resolutions they've had on the Ag and Rural Affairs Committee in the National Association of Counties, because a lot of our Central Valley counties are not granted access to USDA programs because they do not technically meet the definition of rural, when a lot of ours are saying we absolutely do have rural lifestyle. We also are signed on to the Growing Access to Environmental Sustainability Act. It's called the GATES Act, to reduce barriers that producers face in accessing agricultural conservation programs. Current adjusted gross income limits of $900,000 really do exclude many of our Central Valley growers from being able to access USDA funding for environmental and sustainability programs. So we think that's an oversight that needs to be addressed to specifically help California farmers access some of those grants. And we also have been busy in the district. We visited Omar Cheese, discussing their priorities for the Farm Bill and a lot of California dairy insurance priorities for the Farm Bill that's coming up in October. We've been hosting town halls for constituents in Patterson. We also hosted a town hall, a Veterans Roundtable with Senator Alanis, Mayor Clausel, Senator Alvaro Gill, Mayor Newman, Casey Graham, and Supervisor Chance Condon, as well to discuss veterans issues. We had a town hall in Kerman for Fresno County. We're having an upcoming town hall actually in Merced County, the first one in Merced County, in Atwater on Tuesday, August 29th at 7 p.m. at the Atwater Veterans Memorial Building downtown. So we're looking forward to having these opportunities to meet the constituents. I've met with a group of Hmong veterans yesterday as well, so we're really getting out into the community and really proud of that being accessible in office. So I can answer any questions if you have them, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris. There's no questions. We'll move into utility updates. I don't see AT&T or Comcast. Vito would like to give an update from the airport.
It just, because roads are locked down, it reminded me, since we're on the airport together, wouldn't worry about it. So there's currently a bill that has a potential effect on the businesses in San Joaquin Valley. It's the Rambula Bill 985. It's currently, again, it's going to appropriations. And it's asking that the energy reduction credits have an expiration date. So businesses that want to expand are holding on to these energy reduction credits. It might be Gallo Glass, it might be Stanislaus Foods for future expansion. And they don't, Mr. Rangula doesn't want that. It could have a profound effect on business expansion in the San Joaquin Valley. We have the most stringent air requirements in the nation right here in the valley. And we still have an issue because of our topography, nothing more than the topography. We don't have the advantage of the coastal areas. So we continue to do our work. Rose and I are, every week we're trying to figure out ways to improve, but stopping business from expanding is not the way to do it. It's these people, when they do their expansion, they have to meet the latest control technology, and then they have to have some offsets. So it's an important part of the overall scheme of the 8 valley counties. I just wanted to pass it on.
And air quality in San Joaquin Valley has improved significantly because of the work of the airport. So that's definitely kudos, even though it's not ideal, but it has significantly improved. Vito and I will be going to DC with San Joaquin Valley Voice in a few weeks. So if there's any legislative issues you want us to advocate for, whether transportation, air quality related, or anything relevant to Central Valley, please share that with even him or I. Sorry to interrupt you.
You go with that?
Yeah.
Okay, if you need any support at all from the chamber, please let us know, since it involves business. Rosa, would you like to introduce yourself for those who may not know you?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I apologize. My name is Rosa Escutia Brayton. I'm a city council member for District 1.
And the gentleman in the front?
Trevor Garber, economic development.
Thanks for coming. Closer than you thought. All right, very good. Nice to meet you in person.
Wow.
Your sandwiches up there. Okay, so moving right along, let's move into League of California Cities with Stephen Qualls. There's a handout. Oh, I'll get to the really important people soon. The people that keep the lights on. We'll get to you.
I thought it was.
We haven't moved away from all utilities. I should probably like recategorize some of this stuff. Go ahead, Stephen, then we'll finich with MID and PG&E last. Yeah, do you have that report that I emailed or no?
Which one?
From Stephen, or it was like
He's gonna do the 7 pages I didn't do.
30 minutes ago or so. Yeah, or it's actually a Word document. You may not have it. It came, okay, perfect.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
as we mentioned earlier, legislature just came back, so there has a lot of changed in the earlier reports. But some things that have come about are ballot measures that are going to be proposed. So there's a thing I mentioned before, the California Business Roundtable. And what that would do is make it not only make it much harder for cities, counties, and special districts to either increase existing taxes or fees, create new taxes or fees. Everything, including the state, would have to go to the vote of the people. And this is retroactive back to January 1st, 2022. So any ballot measure that any city or county has passed since then, it doesn't have a sunset date on it, would have to go back to the voters. And also, there was a thing called the Upland decision. And it says that there's an initiative placed on the ballot by the voters. If it's a special tax, it's only 50% plus 1 to pass. As you know, normally special tax requires a 2/3 vote. Well, the other decision said that no, it's just have to be 50% plus 1. This would reverse that decision. That all future initiatives placed on the ballot has to be 2/3 vote. It also put a prohibition on advisory measures on the same ballot. I know we've seen some success, and I think Modesto and Stockton has the city council has put advisory measures. So on a general tax, they'll have passed by 50% plus 1, and then they have the advisory board that they can be able to suggest where that money can be spent on. That would no longer be allowed under the CBRT. So legislature, I think it's Senator Walker, I can't remember, or Watts, I can't remember the name. He's placed he's working on AC 13. This would be placed. So CBRT, since it's a ballot measure, would be on the November ballot. Well, since the legislature, all their ballot measures are placed on the March ballot. So this will be on the March 2024 ballot. And this is required that any proposed initiative that raises the threshold for voter approval would have to pass by the same amount. So in other words, since CBRT is raising the threshold to 2/3, CBRT's ballot measure would have to pass by 2/3. It also reserve the right for advisory measures to be placed in the same ballot. And this is a constitutional amendment, so it will be placed in the California state constitution. And then ACA 1, this has to do with funding for certain projects such as construction, rehabilitation, replacement of public infrastructure, affordable housing, permanent supportive housing, and real property for the city. So this would, since it is, those are usually those bonds, our 2/3 vote, that would be lowered to 55%, just like school board bonds. Now it's going to be a tough sell this to the voters. Because in one instance, you're raising the threshold to 2/3. Look what happened in Ohio. And then in the other one, they're lowering it. So it's going to be interesting what happens. There's also a thing called voter fatigue. There might be so many measures on the ballot that people might just go, you don't want everything. That's what they tend to do. And there's a couple of court cases I think might be interesting. So there's a court case in San Francisco County. So currently, cities or counties are not towing vehicles that are illegally parked without warrant. San Francisco is only towing vehicles that have more than $2,500 in past due parking tickets and had not responded within 21 days notice. So the court, I don't know which district court is, this decision only applies to like the Bay Area, north of the city. So and they also were not towing vehicles that were being sheltered. The appellate court said that they cannot tow vehicles unless they present health and safety danger or impeding current traffic. And so this is, like I said, it's only binding in that area, but it's what they call persuasive authority of the county. So this is a movement that is moving forward in other areas. And then there's another one, Grants Pass Neighborhood Association versus California Department of Health. So currently, the Department of Health, they're going to, the agency organization is going to set up a syringe distribution program. The California Department of Health has to go to the local law enforcement agency and give them a 90-day comment period to be able to comment. They also have to pass secret requirements. In the case in Santa Cruz, they did not do that. They only did a 45 days comment period and they do not follow CEQA. So the third district court of appeal, which is Sacramento County, the north areas, rules the Department of Public Health did not follow their own rules, so overturn the lower court. Okay. That's the fun part. In Blight, you are not permitted to wear cowboy boots unless you already own at least 2 cows. Law.
When it's that obscure, it's gotta be law.
In Los Angeles, it was illegal to cry on a witness. Yeah. In San Francisco, it is unlawful to urinate or defecate within 6 feet of the statue or a fountain. False. That's cool.
If it's a law, they violate.
It's unenforced law. I didn't.
That's right. That's right.
So you only made up the third one?
Yep. It's California. Are you shocked?
I think the comment period right now for the needle exchange program is going on to law enforcement. Correct.
Is it?
I think it ends and there's a comment period for cities and counties to go. I think there's something on the head, but
So who's going to set up the distribution program? The county and the department?
no, it doesn't have to go to the state. Doctors over there. The state has the final determination. Took it away.
Yeah, any questions? Thank you for giving me.
Okay.
You like to introduce yourself?
Adam Bartheim with the Standard Two.
Dana?
At last month's meeting, there was a lengthy discussion about Modesto Irrigation District's proposed groundwater replenishment program. So I thought I would provide an update that on Tuesday, August 8th, the board did vote in favor 3-2 to proceed with that program. And applications have started coming in. They opened up the application process on Monday, the 14th. So I just thought I'd provide an update that for those of you that were here to enjoy that very lengthy conversation.
Very good.
That's it. Thank you, Michael.
Let us know if you need anything. In the world of PG&E, we've been following the mini wildfires currently taking place in California and even out of state. Our hearts go out to the wildfire survivors in Lahaina, Maui. Immediately following that incident, we offered operational support and mutual aid assistance to their local utility, which is Hawaiian Electric, and those discussions are ongoing. In other words, we would send people there or at least offer to. We're also tracking a weather system moving in Sunday night through Tuesday, which happens to be the remnant moisture from that hurricane, Hurricane Hillary. It's expected to bring widespread rain and thunderstorms to the Central Valley and the Sierras. The precipitation forecast is currently calling for anywhere from a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of rain on the valley floor and anywhere from 1 to 3 inches in the Sierras. So really interesting weather taking place. Dust off your umbrellas. Not sure if you'll need a sweater, but there's a chance for moisture. So I guess we can't say no to that.
Michael?
Yep.
Question. Good, why elected, do they do, PSTS?
They do not. They do not follow many of the programs that we do. To my understanding, only the utilities in Southern California do. And they have been for much longer than we have, at least a handful of years before we did. So lots of news on that and lots of debate on whether or not that utility should have proactively shut off power. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. There's going to be lots of reporting, lots of lawsuits already happening. Bankruptcy, I'm sure, on the horizon for them. Unfortunately, I saw their stock tumble from 30 something dollars to almost under $10. It's down like 65%, almost 70% since that fire ignited. So horrible, horrible news over there. Keep those folks in your thoughts. It'll be many years, if ever, before that landscape looks the same. I've spent many times with my family there, and it's truly devastating. The pictures are hard to look at. Very reminiscent of Paradise. And it's been 5 years, November 8th of this year, and that town is only 20% rebuilt. Let's see here. Other business and announcements, Touch a Truck. September 30th at the MJC Ag Pavilion. Bring your friends and family. There should be lots of advertising and promoting going on for that event. Trish is scheduled to be back from her trip with her family to Europe, I think next Friday, or as soon as next Friday, maybe into the following Monday.
Correct.
So if you need anything from her, she is responding to emails. I saw a response come through today. So you may want a chance to phone call or text her and email to her. Without further ado, let's get into the special report. We're 7 minutes after noon here. You have plenty of time. Not sure, does he have a slide deck?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we will bring up a slide deck and Stephen will drive and we will listen.
Great. Well, thank you. Really appreciate this opportunity. It's a while since I've had information to you. First, just want to thank the Chamber for your support over the years and move forward with this program and trying to bring a service to Modesto. I don't know if you can. That's a next slide.
Yeah, I was just changing the count, make sure.
But I do actually serve two agencies. The Regional Rail Commission is the owner operator of the ACE Rail Service. And then also San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority, which Supervisor Piazza, my board members, is the managing agency for the San Joaquins. And we have the common staff that serves both agencies. Go to the next slide. Just quickly a little background about both services. The ACE service is a commuter rail service which has been operating between Stockton and San Jose for nearly 25 years. It's mostly a service. It's operating it's a weekday service, mostly serving commuters. Good news report today. We did put a partnership together this year with CYC, and hopefully we'll have that for the long-term future to do special service for 49er games. So we'll be serving the 49ers this year. In addition, Levi Stadium does a bunch of concerts as well. We'll do special trainings to those concerts. So that's a new thing that we're going to be doing. Hopefully leading up eventually to us also serving weekend service in the future as well. But primarily our biggest market over the years has been bringing passengers from the Silicon Valley to their place of business, and particularly the Silicon Valley. Our new road station is the Greater Memphis station. Go to the next slide. And then the other service that I represent is San Joaquins. And San Joaquins, San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority took over the management of this service, which is the rail portion is shown in orange. The blue and green lines, those are through bus route that we service. The San Joaquin service really connects really almost the entire state of California. We've been running, this service is running for several decades. But we run 6 round trips a day, normally 7. We had a reduced service with the pandemic. We expect the 7 to be back soon. But this is one that's quite different from the ACE services. It's focused on intercity trips, non-commuter trips, taking people throughout the state of California. Go to the next slide. There. So this figure really sort of highlights what we call our Value Rail program. We have a joint expansion program between the two services. And this is to extend ACE from Sacramento down to Merced and increase service, and then also increase the San Joaquin service, particularly to Sacramento, but also the Bay Area as well. And we're project in Stockton and Sacramento, we share a common tracks that we're running on for those markets. All the yellow dots you see, those are new stations that we implemented as part of this the system. And so far to date, we've secured about $1.6 billion for this program. Most of that is state funds. And then we are expecting the first round trips to start operations in 2026. The first train will go from Ceres down to San Jose. And then one additional trip going from Sacramento all the way down to San Jose as well. Go to the next slide. This figure just shows the routing that we'll be taking to get up to Sacramento. San Joaquin's do have normally 2 round trips to Sacramento, so on the blue line, but that is UP's main line, and they weren't willing to have additional service on that line. So we are working with UP to run on a lightly used freight line they have in Sacramento subdivision, which is closer to I-5, to bring new service, both San Joaquin's and a service up to Sacramento. We will have several stations in the Sacramento region, including one at Midtown, which will bring people to the capital area, and then one at Thomas, which will have a shuttle connecting people to the Sacramento International Airport. A good thing about this line is it does continue on beyond Sacramento, and we are in the planning stages of extending the line further all the way up to Chico. The funding that we have currently is to bring it to Thomas. Go to the next slide. This shows you the routes coming down from the Lathrop area all the way down to Merced. We do have the ACE service will be running on the UP line, whereas the San Joaquin's run on the BNSF line, which is further to the east, shown in gray. That with the UP line, which is shown in green, the purple, the green portion is the portion we really funding to people start service on. And that work, we're looking again to start 2026, the first round trip. We're still working on securing the funding from Ceres South that were said. We have partial funding from Ceres to Turlock. We have about $100 million that we secured for that piece. We just today submitted a federal application for the remaining funds, a little over $60 million for that piece to complete that funding between Ceres and Turlock for the double tracking we need from UP. We're going to fully double track UP from Lathrop all the way down to Merced. The gray line with the BNSF, we're also looking for improvements on that service as well. And BNSF, in partnership with us, also submitted a federal application earlier this year. We have not heard back on that. We're continuing to work with them to be able to add additional service to BNSF as well. And after we complete the funding to Turlock, we'll continue to work to get funding to send the line all the way down to Merced on the east line. Go to the next slide. This just shows how our Valley Rail program integrates in with the High Speed Rail program that's being implemented in the valley between Merced and Bakersfield. We will be extending ACE to Merced to connect with High Speed Rail. The San Joaquin service, which now runs all the way to Bakersfield, will actually truncate at Merced and make this connection between ACE, San Joaquin's, and High Speed Rail, all the downtown Merced intermodal station. And then in addition, the San Joaquin's throughway buses will also be connecting with this piece of High Speed Rail line that goes from Merced to Bakersfield. Go to the next slide. In Merced, it's a key place where our services come together. Because the San Joaquin's are on the BNSF line, we do need a project that will bring the San Joaquin's over to the UP corridor where High Speed Rail and ACE will be in order to make that connection between the two services. And we call this project the MidSea project. The environmental for this is underway. We expect the environmental document, the draft, to be out for public review early next year. And at that time, we'll be out then have further definition of the project and seeking funding to be able to build this project. We do not currently have a project to implement the funding to implement the MidSea project at this time. But we're looking to have this completed before High Speed Rail starts operating. Go to the next slide. I want to highlight a key project that kind of came a bit late in the Valley Rail program. It's a really important part of the program. It's called Stockton Diamond grade separation. This is just south of downtown Stockton. It's where the UP and BNSF main lines cross. This crossing today, which is at grade, is the worst freight rail bottleneck in California. It may be the worst in the Western US. Previously, the worst most congested freight crossing was down in Southern California, the Fulton crossing, but that was grade separated more than a decade ago. So this is about a $300 million project in itself. This is a big challenge for us, but it's really key to the future of the service because by grade separating, elevating the UP line over the BNSF, it eliminates the bottleneck. It really helps with the overall freight network, really, which is nationwide. But for our side in passenger service, this allows us to have much better on-time performance, as well as opens up, unlocks the ability for us to run additional trains in the future. So we're really sort of, instead of just being able to run a couple of trains initially, this opens up our ability to continue to add trains in the future, both to the Sacramento region and to the Bay Area. Go to the next slide. I should note that project should get our construction starting next year. We complete by 2027. This shows you the sort of the bigger picture of the statewide network with our Valley Road program, with the extension plans going all the way to Chico, shows the high-speed rail segment, and then shows not only how our buses will connect in the northern part of the state, but also in the southern part of the state. Our San Joaquin through buses will be connecting the high-speed rail service at Bakersfield and at Kings Solari Station as well. Go to the next slide. This slide, each one of these lines represents a round trip. And this is our program that we're focused on for being able to, high-speed rail is expecting their operations to begin anytime between 2030 and 2033. And we're looking to be able to meet as many of the trains as we can. They're expecting 18 round trips. We'd like to meet each one of those with either ACE or San Joaquin's train. And on the BNSF line, we currently have 7 round trips. We're looking at 12 by 2020, 2030 or 2033. And on the UP line, where we currently don't have any, we're looking at 6. So 11 additional round trips. Go to the next slide. And then I just want to, even though service has beginning the first round trip has been delayed a bit, 2026. Already we've seen some improvements in this area as a result of our project that will be coming from Modesto. Modesto's transit center improvements worked initially with Adam and his team and the city on first doing the planning and then working to get funding from StanCog for those improvements. Affordable housing partnerships, we've already got one that was secured in terms of grant. We applied for a second one with a developer here. I'm going to show you those projects in just a second. We'll find out by the end of this month. We think we've got a really good proposal. Got our fingers crossed, but we're very confident that we're going to get that one as well. And then we're going to be working with the city on getting a sustainable transportation grant to be able to do future stationary development planning around the transit center here in downtown. And then we're working with the city as well to get safety zone improvements along the UP corridor, the grade crossings, which will enable the city to get a quiet zone throughout downtown. You go to the next slide. So this one just shows the 2 affordable housing projects I was mentioning. The one on the left, the Archway Commons, that's one that already has been funded. It was one of the first affordable housing projects the city of Modesto has got a number of years. This one, by partnering with our agency and our service, it boosts the scores because they get to account for the greenhouse gas emissions that our future service will make. And we're finding in the Valley, getting affordable housing programs through the Affordable Housing Sustainable Community Grant is really difficult to compete against Bay Area and Southern California projects. But by partnering with our agency, it elevates the scores to a point where potential projects can actually succeed. We've secured 4 of these already out of 5. So we're 4 out of 5 of the ones that we've been a partner with. We've got 3 more in this round, including the 7th Street Village project, which is on the right side. And this one we're especially excited about because it's literally a block and a half from the transit center. And we think that it's an exciting new addition to the downtown, which will only help us bring more. And that project as well includes additional street improvements in the area, which will help improve the connectivity to the station. The Archway Commons project also resulted in street improvements from the Archway Commons facility all the way to the transit center. Go to the next slide. And then I just had a couple of pictures because on June 15th, we had a really nice event and you see, recognize some of the folks here. Both Rosa and Adam. But this is a really nice event, recognizing the great work that the city did with the StanCog grant and other grants, federal money as well, in order to really make it a full upgrade of the transit center. And it's quite beautiful now. It fallen to some say that I don't want to call it disrepair, but it really desperately needed an upgrade. And you can see it looks like brand new. They did a tremendous job on that. And it'll really set the stage for our A station to come in the future and really give passengers a really a good environment for catching the train. So the next slide is further pictures from that trip that day. The next slide. And then just, this is my last slide. I did want to just note too, because I'm not chamber, that a key reason for us, we did the San Piedmont Powers Authority and a lot of our things in terms of, it's not just about the transportation, the affordable housing component of it to try to do land use around the stations, but also jobs in the valley. Part of the reason we took on the management of San Joaquin's, previously been managed by Caltrans with folks out in Sacramento. We want to bring more jobs to the valley portion, as well as having regional government. By expanding our services, we're getting more jobs on the construction and the operations of our services, but also the maintenance of our service. By having the two services, traditionally the ACE has been maintained at our Stockton facility. Keens have traditionally been maintained in Oakland. We're getting new equipment that will start running later this year. That equipment is going to all be maintained out of our Stockton facility, which means more jobs, more funding to the valley, and that will continue as we continue to grow. So we do have this Rail Academy of Central California that's in partnership with City College in Sacramento, and this is just getting started, but it's a jobs training program to help get people the skills they need to be able to do train maintenance or train operations. And so this program is going to grow in the future as well, and not just help for our services, but other rail services throughout the state. And it'll focus on disadvantaged communities, low-income residents, and particularly in the valley. And then at this point, it's open for any questions. Actually, when was high-speed rail officially supposed to be completed? Was it supposed to be completed in 2023? Officially by the original ballot? By original ballot, yes. So. And the cost factor. Yes. I believe that the legislation that was done about the state license completed in 2020.
So right now they're talking possibly 2033.
To begin the first segment between Bakersfield and Merced.
The first segment.
First segment, that is first segment. Bakersfield said 2033, 2030, 2033 is what they just put out what they call a project update report. And that was done earlier this year. And that's where the sort of envelope, they call it the envelope between 2030 and 2033. I should note that even though we're connecting with high-speed rail, our program is standalone. I mean, it could work even if high-speed rail wasn't operating. It still serves the populations, but certainly with the San Joaquin's truncating them and making that connection, just really focus on high-speed rail. Yeah.
So that bottleneck you're talking about in Stockton?
Yes.
Stockton. Are you sharing the cost now with the river?
Not directly. Where the railroads are where they're helping us is being very cooperative to make it happen. To do something like this is a little bit unheard of. We've got two competing railroads that are actually working together to make a project that does immediately benefit both of them, but it also benefits the public. I mean, in our area, in the Stockton, our offices in Stockton, this is literally blocks from our area. This is through a disadvantaged part of Stockton. You have diesel trains sitting there sometimes for an hour, 2 hours sitting in the community, sort of idling. And so it's a big problem, not just for the railroads, but for the community. By us removing this, it removes that huge problem. The railroads cooperation has allowed this project to happen, period, but also they are working with us to make sure that to expedite this, which, as you know, time is money on these things. So if they were not working with us, the delays that would be occurring, the cost would skyrocket. So the fact that they are making this a priority is saving millions and millions of dollars.
It just makes sense that they want to help. I mean, well, it's not that they don't have to. I mean, if it's a bottleneck for them, that must cost them millions of dollars also.
They've been helpful through their cooperation and the prioritization of this. But and I should note, I mean, part of the delays would be a company. The freight railroads have limited staff. That's even happened more over the last several years. The pandemic has exacerbated that, but it's even happening before. UP went on to something they call the precision scheduling. So it's just more like passengers were scheduling, but that what they did was they cut their staff by about 30% nationwide. So they're pressed because there's so many projects throughout the country, but particularly in California. And so it's very hard for them to give really quick reviews. And when we know a very large project, our project's got quite big, that's been something that's helped in place. So having them prioritize someone is hugely important for moving forward. Yeah.
That federal application center is funding for 60 grant or
It's the MPDG. It was the due date is Monday, but we got it in early. And yes, so that's just I'll be my car. I'm happy to give you more information about it.
that quiet, the safety zone, that's
Yes.
an actual quiet zone regarding the actual training.
Yeah, what that would do is not just for our future trains for the passenger, it's really the bigger issue is the UP trains going through. And so it'll mean that both UP and base trains would not have to blow their horns through downtown. And but to do these, what I call it, I put down a safety zone because you can't just enact a quiet zone. You first have to do safety improvements, and you create it so it's a safer environment that enables you to have them not have to blow their horns. And there are occasions, if there's someone they see in the right of way, they will blow their horn. If there's severe weather where it's really foggy and they can't see things, they can't have any visibility, they'll blow their horn. But most of the time they do not. We were able to deploy one of these in the Sonoma area, in the Bay Area. It's a canyon. It's been life-changing for them because the canyon, especially the sound, really goes out throughout the whole canyon. We've eliminated 95% of the noise there by
My constituents from Empire, very awesome, so we're really happy for this.
Yeah, so we'll keep working with the city until we get that, but we think that's really important for the plans to really encourage development around this part of them. Can you please do it, Lisa? Yeah. We, for us, just so you know, we, our agency, we cannot deploy a quiet zone. We can help assist, we can provide, support, like we are here helping get the grants, things like that. But quiet zones, are first going to be improvements in the city for or in the case of the Sonoma, it's the county, because it wasn't city. It has to do the application for the quiet zone.
There is a process.
Yes. Yeah. Once you've done the improvement, once the improvements are in, the freight railroads have to abide by it. So once you've done the improvements, they have to honor the pledge. Yeah.
I think I was just reading about how Caltrain is doing now that they're transitioning and they're doing the first pilot to all battery.
Yes.
Is that something that's right?
Theirs is not bad. It's really not bad. Theirs is electrified. They've got electrification of the batteries. It's hard for us to do the overhead battery, not just because of cost, but also because they have a great thing for them because they actually own the right of way. Even though UP remains the rights to run, but Caltrain actually owns the right of way. UP or BNSF, particularly UP is not going to allow overhead cat around the right of way. So for us, the way forward is through battery or hydrogen. And we do have a program to do that. And in fact, actually, some of the application we have for 7th Street for the Affordable Housing Sustainable Community, if they get that grant, we will get $6 million to my agency to convert one of our diesel locomotives to a zero emission locomotive. And we already have the study work going on to figure out how we do that, whether it's hydrogen or battery or combination. We're already working on that with the state of California. But it is our committed with the state to go eventually to full zero emission equipment. We've already made an initial transition going to Tier 4 diesel, which is the cleanest diesel locomotives which are available at this time. But in addition to that, we've gone to renewable diesel. The San Joaquins will do. We're doing it this year. I got to check to make sure if it's already done. I haven't seen our press release out. ACE has already done it. And so we'll get renewable diesel for both. That greatly reduces the GHG emissions from the diesel. So we're doing everything we can to make as clean as we can with today's technology, but we're committed to going to zero emission with both of our services.
Okay. On the zero emission rail ideas as far as engines go, the Navy has submarines and carriers that are going to refit. I've not heard, that's one I've not seen anywhere. Yeah, that's one I'm not aware of, that there's anything being developed for training. But hydrogen, absolutely, and battery powered, absolutely.
Powerful battery.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to acknowledge Anthony Canella. Every time I have this conversation, when he was in the legislature, took a brave vote on SB1, was the deciding vote, and got $400 million, which just started this opportunity and has been leveraged up to $1.6 billion so far. And we're asking for another couple $100 million right now. So it's and again, the brave vote. Remember, he had to change his number and all the things he went through because of that. But it's really going to benefit us immensely. And the second component on the air quality, high-speed rail is supposed to be electrified from Bakersfield. That is a segment. And that will be the fight because it's a big expense. They could probably get the track laid. They could probably run near zero emission. We just don't know where that is, but we would like to see that electrified. It would be beneficial for business in the valley. But I don't know that I think that we just need to prepare for that fight.
Thank you for recognizing the forward, Senator. Yeah, without that initial, through that 400 million that he was able to get really as a result of this entire program, because you need money to be able to leverage together. That we were able to use that 400 million leverage to get a $500 million first of application, but without that, we don't get it, and then continue to grow the program. Absolutely.
Can I ask how is ridership on trains anyway nowadays?
The San Joaquin Keens have done very well. I mean, with the San Joaquin Keens, the ACE San Joaquin Keens ridership is quite different. This case, as I mentioned, San Joaquin Keens are intercity service, whereas ACE is commuter based. With the intercity ride, and the San Joaquin Keens also have like about 60% of our ridership is what you call lower income, whereas 50,000 or less per household income. During the pandemic, the San Joaquin service held probably better than almost any rail service in the country. And in terms of the amount of passengers that it retained, currently we're at about 80% of pre-pandemic ridership, but we're still down one round trip. So when we bring back, and we also cut some of our bus service as a result of the pandemic, when we bring the one round trip back, we expect ridership from San Joaquin to be basically back where we're maintained. On ACE, it's been different because ACE is very focused on commute trips. It's the commuter ones that have suffered more. So ACE is currently more like around 40% of pre-pandemic, but even though 40% is low, it's on the right trajectory. What we're seeing in the valley is that for us, the main reason is because Silicon Valley has not sort of forced their workers back. That's our biggest ridership market, but they are starting to bring workers back at least a couple of days. Even before the pandemic, we had most of our riders were riding on telecommuting at least once a week. And now what they're doing is telecommuting more. But as the offices bring folks back at least 2 or 3 days a week, it also exacerbates the amount of people who are living in the valley because it's more convenient. The valley prices would drive people out here. There's a very high cost of living in the Bay Area. And if you only have to go into your work a couple of days a week, then it makes it much more easy to move out. And so we're seeing for us right now, a lot of our ridership is coming is really new riders who are moving out to the valley as a result of the ability to telecomute, and then are riding a couple of days, 2 or 3 days a week. So we see the days that are really suffering are Mondays and Fridays. And so that might cause us to look at Mondays and Fridays, excuse me, and do it quite differently, like maybe do it more like the San Joaquin Keens that run intercity type service, leisure type based on those days, or reduce service on those days.
You mentioned incomes to $50,000 for lower income.
Yes.
Are you having to subsidize the fares to get them on board?
Oh, all passenger service in this country basically subsidizes. The operations receive some sort of public subsidy. I'm not aware of any operations in this country that where they're fully covered. The San Joaquin Keens typically are around 50%, 40-50% in terms of what revenues cover. ACE typically has been around 40%. Right now we're below that.
And that's the most efficient of the public transit subsidies is on train. Because we're 20 cents is our fare box recovery on buses. So, and we don't make that quite yet, but we're trying.
Yeah, but public transit is like 10 or 15% or something like that. Buses and things like that.
It depends on the type of service.
No, the public is paying 50% of the freight on a train and only 15 to 20 cents on a bus.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. So everything is subsidized. This is just subsidized less. Train is a more efficient method.
Anything else?
And
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Always appreciate hearing from you. Dan, please let us know if you need anything from us. I will acknowledge the letter of support for Series Station. We're looking into that now. We'll turn that around and then, Stephen, you had a letter of opposition for AB 504. We'll look into that as well. Just want to acknowledge that too. Wow, we are actually going to end ahead of time this month, which is nice. We'll give you some time back. Our next meeting is Friday, September 15th. We will be hearing from Assembly Member Juan Alanese in person, which would be very nice. He is going to be providing lunch. So expect another meal. I also confirmed that Senator Marie Alvarado Gill will be joining us in person in October. And also received confirmation that Congressman John Duarte will be here in person in November. So our calendar is fully built out through the end of the year. Because we're dark in December. So remember that. Don't come see us in December. We will not be here. But we have, yeah, Marie next month, excuse me, Juan next month, Marie October, John November. Marie is gonna provide lunch as well, so no pressure to John's office. Still patiently awaiting confirmation for lunch. Yeah, that would be very nice. We would not say no to that. We've all been fed pretty well here, so let's keep that trend going. We will adjourn the meeting at 12:38.
Sure, I have those 7 days things.
No. Please don't.
You just said, let's keep this train going.
Keep the what trend?
You said, let's keep this train going.
Oh, train going. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. The food train.
You're welcome.